But I overall, I will think that even though there's no confirmation as of now that there will be a leaders summit or not, but the fact that whatever outcomes were seen in terms of a fact sheet were, I think, quite convincing that Quad is here to stay.
This time, Marco Rubio came, similar situation. Mamata Banerjee has been kicked out. A new BJP government had been in power, and the US Secretary of State did not seek the time with the chief minister.
Could have been one reason, but I think it had its political connotations, not in towards India, but towards his own constituency back home. That's my reading of it. So we are aligning ourselves, but I don't think we are under any illusion that the United States will sacrifice its strategic goals to please India. I mean, that is not going to happen. It will be the other way around, most likely. In Bangladesh, also, we are all aware, and I think we spoke about it also, that the US government at the time, when they were actually did not even, I think, kept India in the picture and helped destabilize the government there for their own end, because Sheikh Hasina was not ready at that moment to give them the island. But going forward in the reality, when you look at it, there is always going to be a geopolitical and geoeconomic competition between number one power and number two power. But I would suggest that in the meantime, we should have our own trilateral between Japan, Australia, and India, which should be focused on enhancing our cooperation because we are middle powers.
Who is becoming, or which one will become the bigger problem, US or China? So, in all probability, the situation will only get hotter in the Bay of Bengal. Is that correct?
Let's hope not, but it is very likely.
Hi, this is Pratim Ranjan Bose. You are watching Podcast with Pratim. I have with me Ambassador Anil Trigunayat. He has been here before many times. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pratimji.
Sir, the foreign minister level meeting of Quad had just been conducted. It was on May 26th in the presence of American Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The summit level meeting is yet to be held. I think it was scheduled end 2025, but it became a prisoner. That is what many people think. It became a prisoner of Trump's policies, and in particular, the India-US relations, which is believably or understandably is not in the best of the terms. So from this perspective, what is the significance and key takeaways of the foreign secretary level meeting, foreign minister level meeting?
Yeah, thank you very much once again, Pratimda, for inviting me. And it's a very important question that you have asked. And this is in the mind of a lot of people, as well as the media commentary which was going on, and all kinds of insinuations that have been made. But the fact remains that Quad is an important institution or a mechanism in which four maritime democracies are functioning, collaborating together. The leaders come and leaders go. But then the strategic pivot that is there due to the geopolitical contestations is very much a part of it. It's no doubt that all the four countries have their own expectations of the Quad. But as I say, it is Quad, but not a squad. So although it's supposed to be quadrilateral security dialogue, but the security dimensions per se, as is conceived in the traditional term, being a military collaboration or something like that, is not there. They have these Malabar exercises and others, and intelligence cooperation, and everything happens. But at the same time, what is more important in this particular meeting, which has happened, of course, let's give credit to Trump to that extent that it is during his term, from first term, and then also during second term, that the Quad really got some wings. It had been an organization or an idea or an institution that has been lagging for at a very low level of thing. But he's the one who actually started off in the first term. In the second term, also, if you come to think of it, as soon as Rubio became the Secretary of State, the first meeting he had was that of Quad foreign ministers. He hosted all of them. That was the very first meeting, international meeting that he had. And since then, three times these ministers have met. And this was now the 11th meeting of the foreign ministers in Quad that was held in India. Of course, India is the chair this year, and India has to host the meeting and was expecting to host. But then bilateral relationships of all the three countries, whether it's Australia, Japan, or India, with the United States have not been on best of terms. As I mostly say that for Trump, this is like a samdarshi, means he treats everybody alike, whether you are a friend, whether you are enemy or a frenemy. So for him, he has treated nearly every country in the same manner. So India is not an exception. India became an exception to the rule to this in the sense that one of the highest tariffs were
Every
imposed
country
on
except China,
China also had it its own, but China had the
G2.
power to retaliate on his tariffs. So rest of the countries did suffer. So he tried to negotiate with every country some kind of a deal, cut a deal, and because he thinks he's a deal maker, and that's why things went on. But with India, on trade vertical, I think that we have had issues, and we continue to have those issues. On other verticals, which are part of the global comprehensive strategic partnership, whether it is defense and security cooperation, whether it is science, technology, R&D, in all those areas, I think that there is still a lot of traction that is going on. So it's only on the trade dimension that we have seen, or even for example, in the P2P dimension, because he tried to be anti-immigrant policies, trying to send people who were chained and all that, which was not a good sight for anyone. We can say that on bilateral front, it has not been a very pleasant kind of an experience of the countries. But on the quadrilateral, this quad system, what we are talking about is this particular meeting produced certain very important results on key issues. I mean, I was quite pleasantly surprised that there was a special statement for each of the major this thing, the important, whether it's critical minerals, whether it's framework for critical minerals or technologies, critical emerging technologies, or for that matter, semiconductors and others. Like so the or energy security, for example. So all these things that are being challenging for the most countries in the world, including India, were addressed in this one. There are differences, no doubt, of approach because not any country, none of the countries that were present were happy about the way war in Iran has gone on or has destabilized everything. Because India and Japan are the two countries who also import the largest quantities of the crude from the region. So they have been impacted in that sense of the term. But I overall I will think that even though there's no confirmation as of now that there will be a leader summit or not, but the fact that whatever outcomes were seen in terms of a fact sheet were, I think, quite convincing that Quad is here to stay. So that is something I believe has gone on. Secondly, as far as India's position is concerned, is also very different because this year we are also chair of BRICS. And for President Trump, BRICS is like an anathema. He considered that if the BRICS countries go in for de-dollarization, he will impose 100% tariffs and things like that, which have been turned down, of course, by Supreme Court in the United States. So they'll have to find some other way of doing whatever they want to do. It has been geopolitically and politically, I think bilateral level relations have seen the hiatus. But in other dimensions, it has moved on, I think so. So overall, I would say that the Quad meeting was much awaited, desired, and hopefully we'll have the summit meeting as well.
Okay. Yes, it was President Trump who actually insisted that India be part of Quad around 2017-18 that time.
Yes.
And I remember, and uh, but the policies and the initiatives are changing too fast. I remember an Indo-Pacific alliance that was floated by Biden, and no one talks about it anymore. Uh, so, so that has been the concern. Sir, Marco Rubio started his India tour from Kolkata. 15 years ago, his predecessor, Hillary Clinton, then Secretary of State, came to Kolkata when Mamta Banerjee had just replaced the left. She came, had a more than an hour long meeting with Mamta Banerjee. And as some disclosures suggest, she congratulated her for throwing the left out. This time, Marco Rubio came, similar situation. Mamta Banerjee has been kicked out. A new BJP government had been in power. And the US Secretary of State did not seek the time with the chief minister. He came, apparently had a photo op at the Missionaries of Charity, which is Mother Teresa famed, and went back. It was 2-3 hours visit. So what was the signal that he gave to India?
Well, you should be happy sitting in Calcutta that he visited Calcutta first during his first visit to India. So, which is an interesting thing. But I believe that maybe Hillary Clinton was a true politician at the time, was looking for a new the next term as the president or whatever it is. But here, what we see is, and what most people say is, he's an avowed Catholic Christian, and he has a constituency. And from all counts that one sees today, President Trump seems to support him for the next candidacy. He's emerging as a preferred lieutenant for the post in the next elections in the United States. So he has this Christian constituency, which by coming here, and Mother Teresa was canonized, and to visit there, that was something. Maybe also because perhaps his wife also wanted to visit the Mothers of Charity. So this is something I believe that could have been one reason, but I think it had its political connotations, not in towards India, but towards his own constituency back home. That's my reading of it.
Okay. So the last question. The Quad Alliance was in the Quad Alliance, India was supposed to take charge in the Indo-Pacific area, particularly in the Indian Ocean and the Bay of Bengal area. That was understandably the situation. Now, the US has been coming unilateral, and as per some reports, they may station a warship at sea carrier in Bangladesh. In fact, a lot has been heard for last couple of years, ever since the former Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina made the disclosure about their the Saint Martin disclosure. So where does what is the total message that we are getting? And finally, where is Quad? Where is US? Where is India? I mean, is there any kind of alliance, or we are competing each other?
No, no. We don't like the word alliance ourselves. So that is India's foreign policy is more by way of alignment. So we are aligning ourselves, but I don't think we are under any illusion that the United States will sacrifice its strategic goals to please India. I mean, that is not going to happen. It will be the other way around, most likely. What has happened, I mean, in Bangladesh also, we are all aware, I think we spoke about it also, that the US government at the time, when they were actually, did not even, I think, kept India in the picture and helped destabilize the government there for their own end, because Sheikh Hasina was not ready at that moment to give them the island. They sent Martin, as you mentioned. So I think that that was the case. It happened. A destabilization has taken place, and the new government in Bangladesh is also very careful in providing access to these islands. So for us, this became a double problem because that's our geography of importance for us. And anything happens in our neighborhood is definitely of great concern to us, especially in Bangladesh. And but I don't think they ever thought of into consulting India, and that's why the relationship also became a little bit had its own low moments because of what happened in Bangladesh with regard to India's interests. Right now, it looks like that the relationship with Bangladesh is trying to move back to even keel, if not very preferential. And the new government has become more pragmatic and taking a very sensible line. So we hope that the BNP government will be able to work together. As far as Quad is concerned, there are in the Indo-Pacific. That is a larger challenge for United States. Going forward, today they are looking for some kind of a G2 kind of a metrics or an arrangement with China after his visit to United States to stabilize the world order and whatnot. But going forward in the reality, when you look at it, there is always going to be a geopolitical and geoeconomic competition between number one power and number two power. And that cannot be dispensed with under any circumstances going forward. So that is the reality that the Americans face. And that's where they think that the Quad is a useful instrument for them. For India, containment of China is not a priority. India wants an inclusive, a free and open Indo-Pacific with freedom of navigation, with rule of order, rule-based order being followed like UNCLOS others. But for the United States, maybe for Australia and Japan to lesser extent, China remains a very major challenge and threat in that connection. So each individual country's perception about role of China, even though you will realize that in the statement or anywhere, nobody mentions the word China. Whether we like it or not, but dragon is in every room and in every strategic.
The very reason for Quad was to tackle China.
Well, it was in a way, but then because India has its own position, it could not become a kind of an alliance that they were looking for. And that is why they created this AUKUS and other mechanisms. And you know that India, the United States, Japan, and Australia, they all have these defense and security agreements with the United States. So they probably have bound by that. But India is not bound by that, although we have signed several agreements with COMCASA and others with the United States uh, with closer partnership, but on a bilateral level. So that's the difference there. So in that sense, Quad will remain important and Quad will continue to get some traction. It will, of course, depend a great deal on how the Americans wish to push it because they are a major thing. But I would suggest that in the meantime, we should have our own trilateral between Japan, Australia, and India, which should be focused on enhancing our cooperation because we are middle powers and
Japan,
the middle
India, and
Japan, India, Australia.
okay,
And the middle powers must pool in their resources because they're like-minded democracies and strategic partners and continue to look after their own interests to the extent possible.
right. So, cannot stop but asking you another question is that China was, we always were aware of Chinese threat, whether that is real or not, whether that is a perceived threat. But there was some kind of competition was surely there, though China always, many China watchers felt that China doesn't consider India as a competition. But right at this moment, what is your perception? Who is becoming or which one will become the bigger problem, US or China?
Well, US will not be a very big problem for us in the sense is that once we start diversifying our relationships, then we can neutralize that impact to a great extent if necessary. US is a good partner to have in technology domain, which is the way the world is going to go. But with China, we have real problems. And real problems are on both on land borders as well as maritime borders. And therefore, and in our neighborhood as well. I mean, so it's a strategic challenge that you cannot, wish away. We are following a policy of competition with cooperation, avoiding conflicts with China. And I think that is the policy. The Chinese are sensible enough to reciprocate in kind, then I think things can move better with China. So if you were to just put everything in a zero-sum game, then I think that for India, both are going to be the threats.
Okay. So, in all probability, the situation will only get hotter in the Bay of Bengal. Is that correct?
Let's hope not, but it is very likely.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you.